Let's start standing. Everyone, please stand up. If you're unable to stand up, then I'd like to just have you join us now with raising both arms up in the air in a power pose. So powerful V pose of your arms. What I'd like you to do is please take your right hand, placed upon your nose, take your left hand and placed upon your opposite ear. Now what I want you to do is switch. Hand to nose, opposite hand and opposite ear touch. Switch again. Hand to nose, opposite hand, opposite ear touch. I want you to switch back and forth and try and increase your pace and try to increase it a little bit more. And I want you to go as fast as you can go while sustaining the motion. I'm going to go a little bit faster. You go at your pace, however fast you can go while sustaining the motion. And usually at this point, you break down with laughter. If you do this in a classroom, kids are going to start laughing. They're going to say, "What are you doing? Can you do this? How can you do that so fast?" And they get really engaged. Now, you can sit down. I'm a teacher. My name is Grace Martin, and I'm here today to share with you some of the ideas that go on behind the scenes of great teachers. Great teachers do not have to be original. I am not inventing anything new through this presentation. I have not invented any of these exercises or really any of the ideas, because even though I might not be original, I'm being authentic. And I have found strategies that have really worked for me. I've integrated them into my classroom, and I'd like to empower you to do the same. Now, we did two things with that brain break. The first was raising our arms and getting you to stand up. Now, when we stand up, we are redirecting blood flow in our body. So when students start to get really tired and really lethargic, sometimes they just need to stand. And this applies for us when we're working at home on the computer, that every half hour we need some movement, we need to stand. By raising your arms up over your head in a powerful pose, you are raising your own confidence as well as redirecting blood flow to help with learning. For the ear-nose switch, going back and forth across the median line of your body, that means the middle or center point of your body, is going to send signals back and forth across the corpus callosum in the middle of your brain, which connects the left and right hemispheres. If you didn't know, the left side of your brain controls the right side of your body, and the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body. So when you are crossing through that median line to the other side, you are starting to engage those synapses and you're firing across the brain, redirecting blood flow in the brain, and you should start to wake up. It's a great way to get kids back at it and ready to keep learning. Now, why did I share that with you? There are tons of strategies out there. I just wanted to give you an example of one, you just learned something, and two, to understand that every great teacher comes up with a plan. So I had a plan. My plan was first to hook your attention. Now, when we are teaching, we need to hook students' attention to the subject matter that we are using. Sometimes we can start with a story at the beginning of a unit, and this applies for every grade level, whether you're elementary school or high school. We want to hook our students' attention with something. That could even be a short clip or video from YouTube. After we've had our plan in place, we then decide to execute said plan. But here's where I'm going to pause, and I'm actually going to back up and say there's a lot more going on beneath the surface of a great teacher. I'm going to back up to first saying that a great teacher is willing to change. Now, Isaac Newton did say that if he has seen further than others, it is because he stood on the shoulders of giants. Right now, at this point in time, with post-COVID craziness, with not knowing how we're supposed to plan for our next year because we don't know what next year is going to look like, we as teachers need to be willing to change. We need to be willing to take a look at what has been done in the past and stand upon the shoulders of those educational giants so that we can move forward. You have been given an amazing opportunity to rewire your brain for how you work in your classroom at this moment in time. It's a great opportunity. Let's not waste it. Whether we are online next year, whether we are in classes next year, whether we have a hybrid model and we only have a rotation of some students in front of us any given day, you are giving yourself a chance to change, and you owe it to your students to step up and try something different. When you are willing to change, you start to rewire your brain. We tend to get really stuck in our previous ways. And when we get stuck in our previous ways, we tend to say the same thing over and over. Like, I'm just so busy. I'm so busy. I can't do that. I know that I should probably plan a little bit more, but I'm so busy. I've got so much going on. Don't you realize that I had to take care of my kids at the same time as doing online schooling? And this has been really, really stressful for me. I do understand that. I do understand that this has been an extremely stressful time for a lot of people. Let's be willing to change our mindset instead of coming from a stress-based approach and instead with a solutions-based approach. So be willing to change your mind, change your attitude, and approach this situation from a place of calm. When you approach from a place of calm, you're actually coming into the second thing. And the second thing that I have after number 1, willing to change, number 2 is self-care. Self-care is extremely important for you to be able to show up for the rest of your life, for your family, for your students, for anyone else who's counting on you. First, you need to be taking care of yourself. But you're so stressed and you have no time. Carve out time for you. If you believe that you have no time for yourself, you do not have any time for yourself, and your perception becomes your reality. Or as Louise Hay says, that's an affirmation. I'm just so busy. That's an affirmation. I don't have time. That's an affirmation. What you think you are going to create in your surroundings. See, I told you I'm not necessarily original. That came from Louise Hay, not from me. But it's a great piece of advice to change your thinking and change your thoughts. You want to get rid of those negative thoughts that are holding you back, holding you down, and you want to be solution oriented. You can do this. You can stand in your power confidently and approach this new situation, whatever curveball we are about to be thrown. When you look up someone like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who writes about the biology of belief, you understand that what you ingrain into your subconscious mind changes not only how your perception looks at reality, but your physical body itself. So I want you to believe that you can heal your physical body, that you can have enough energy to show up and be present for your students and empower them to show up for themselves as well. So number 1, we had be willing to change your mind, change your thinking. Number 2 is self-care. Take care of yourself and let your brain allow yourself to be calm and centered. Number 2, self-care also involves you doing something that nourishes your soul. And that's going to be different for everybody. For some people, that means meditation, mindfulness, and yoga. For some people, that means going outside on a hike. For some people, that's horseback riding. Or maybe it's a different kind of animal therapy, like petting your dog, listening to music, or maybe listening to loud music. Maybe it's having a bubble bath. Whatever is good for you, for your self-care, I cannot say what is best for you in your context. You find a way to carve out time for you and take that time to nourish yourself and your soul. Now, we've done number 1 and 2. Number 3 here is an act of both being disciplined and being diligent with your discipline. So what I want to challenge you to do is pick up a summer professional development course of some kind. So I can give you a ton of recommendations, but it won't be best for what you have in your context. I might recommend Angela Watson, Cornerstone for Teachers in the 40-hour teacher workweek, who will teach you to become much more efficient with your time. You have tons of demands on your time. You have family members who rely on you. You have things to do, you have places to go, and even though we've just come out of quarantine and we've just come out of a time of COVID where everything was canceled, you now have more plans because things are ramping up again. Would you please be efficient with your time, learn how to schedule your time, and understand that you can take those efficient practices and bring them to your classroom so that you have a more efficient work week to work smarter and not necessarily harder. I could recommend Jim Quick, who talks about memory, or maybe doing a speed reading course. With Jim, it's not actually a speed reading course, it's super reading. Most speed readers only read for gist. Jim Quick can teach you how to get up to 800, 900 words per minute at full reading comprehension. Guess what? You could take that and take it to your classroom and teach your students how to be better readers once you've empowered yourself to be a better reader. I could give you other examples, such as clutter clearing. So if you want to look up Denise Lynn, she is one of my favorites of clutter clearing. You have this soul clutter, you have physical clutter, and when you start organizing your physical space and your emotional space, you are better able to show up for yourself and others, and it can be a very cleansing practice on an emotional level as well. These are backstories, right? I still haven't said now teachers getting in front of students. This is all behind the scenes. And the next thing that's behind the scenes is planning. Great teachers will always have a plan. And I want to challenge you here. I know you're feeling busy. I know that you learned Google Classroom and Zoom and how to do online teaching pretty much overnight. Good for you. There's still so much more that you can find out, and you can have time to find them out. I have a little website, Easy Teacher Toolbox at Weebly.com. It's full of great little instructional strategies that you can adapt to your classroom. We can get creative. If next year we have students who are still learning online, we can take some of those strategies and we can incorporate them to our online learning. So that includes something like, say, a row game. If you have a regular math worksheet, let's take that regular math worksheet and make one problem, split it into two different problems, with the answers being the same number. You can split groups off into Zoom and then can have one child be completing problem A, another child completing problem B. And when they get to the same answer, they double check, hey, did you get this answer? I got this answer too. If they both got the same answer, they got it right. If they didn't get it right, now you have an opportunity for a dialogue, for a discussion, for them to try and figure out who did what wrong. And it can help them to collaborate. That's an instructional strategy for you. Please take your planning and be diligent with your planning. Be disciplined with your time. Make sure that you have a schedule of, I get up at this time, maybe I do yoga at this time, I'm reading at this time, I'm going to work, and I have this amount of time that I'm going to do for a plan. Where I want you to be diligent is not getting caught in the Pinterest scroll. There are so many great ideas out there. Go find one, any one, grab it, immediately apply it to your lesson planning. Do not let yourself get sucked down the rabbit hole, one thing after another. You can be efficient with your time. So we've got this backstory. We have changing your thinking. We have self-care. We have yourself being disciplined. We have yourself planning, and we finally will have students to teach. How that's going to look, we don't know. We used to have icebreakers of, okay, kids need to shake hands. Maybe the teacher greets every student at the door with their own personalized handshake. And now we have to come up with something new. Because due to COVID restrictions, we might not be able to be face-to-face with our students anymore. So we're going to have to still come up with something different for icebreakers and for getting to know our students. But here's now the number one on my list of many things. It's actually number one in the process of the student learning, which is relationships. Relationships cannot be undervalued. You need to know this student's name, you need to memorize this student's name, and then you need to develop a relationship with this student. Our students have had a crazy year. If you feel like you've had a crazy year, I want you to pause for a second and think, you're an adult. You have a lot of emotional skills to be able to handle change. Our students are still kids. Even if you're teaching high school, they are still kids. And they were not as well adapted to be able to handle this in a mature fashion like we were. So please be compassionate with your students as they come into this crazy new year that we have no idea what it's actually going to be looking like. And remember that your number one first thing to do in September is establish relationships with your students. A great teacher cares. And I know that you care because you were the person who was trying to get everything online, who was trying to connect with your students, who was making phone calls, seeing who had an internet connection and what this child needed for their learning to help them forward. I know that you care. Take a moment to care for yourself, and then take a moment to realize that because you care for the other students, the students that are in your classroom, they notice. And they appreciate that, whether or not they've told you. Sometimes the kids who need the most love ask for it in the most unloving of ways. Appreciate that because you are approachable, the students know that you care. That saves lives. I will say that again. When a student knows that you care, when a student knows that you are approachable, when they are going through the toughest time of their entire life, which could be something like them being abused at home, which could be something like their mental health has slipped and they're feeling suicidal, they know they can come to you. And when that child comes to you and you are able to get them help, you have just saved a life. And there can be, to me, no higher reward than saving the lives of your students every day. Show up for yourself, show up for them. And I hope that you have a great year ahead of you.